If you are in the midst of a messy middle, an unknown suspension in the middle of having made a decision and not yet getting the relief from that coming to fruition, if you've asked for the epidural in your life and the anesthetist is busy in another room, I see you, sister. I see you. And you will eventually find the relief on the other side. And what lessons are here for you in the middle? And how can you be so gentle with yourself? How can you give yourself so much grace and compassion if your capacity during this time feels reduced? Because it likely is, and that's perfectly normal. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast. Your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. Hello, Woo Crew, and welcome back to another episode of the Woo Curious podcast. I am your host, Eileen, and I'm coming to you today with a solo episode that has taken me a hot minute to sit down to record. And the reason for that is because I was feeling out of inspiration. I didn't know what I was going to talk to you about. It's easy when I have guests to simply share those conversations. It's easy when there's a Wheel of the Year celebration coming up to drop into that space and share about the energies of the season and the mythology and everything that surrounds those 8 points in the wheel. And I often have absolutely no issues coming up with other things, other topics that are on my mind. It's often some theme that's presencing itself in my work with one-on-one clients or inside the Wise Wild Woman mentorship or within the confines of Unleash Your Inner Witch, or even just in conversations that I'm having with friends in the world or strangers on the internet. But the last kind of month, I have felt stumped. I went off to the Wild Roses Women's Festival, as you will know if you've been listening for very long, and I was really hoping or thinking that I would come away from that weekend with a whole bunch of wisdom and nuggets to share with you here. And while it was an incredibly potent, beautiful weekend on the land in the company of women, it reminded me, as it did last year, how much of that kind of female-oriented sisterhood connection kind of space I have in my life already. Do I want to go live at the Wild Roses Women Festival for most of the year? Yes. Yes, I do. And I have so many points of connection, so many deep female friendships, so many spaces that I get to hold space for, that I don't feel like, at least in the last 2 years, I haven't had any big, like, oh my goodness, this is incredible takeaways, aside from the 2 years running, them being the cleanest porta potties I've ever set foot in. Like, so clean that there was a couple of times over the weekend where I opened the door and was like, oh, they must have just emptied them. They were emptying them daily. There's 1,000 women on this land. And I was like, oh, they must have just come by and emptied and cleaned this because it's spotless, only to open up the lid and realize that, nope, it's not been cleaned anytime recently. That really, to me, just speaks of the consideration Oh, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but here we are. I have another topic for us about being in the messy middle and the discomfort of being there. But first, let's talk a little bit about this and let the flow go as it will. The consideration for others. I think that's what makes this festival such a special experience, is all weekend long, nobody is concerned about their personal belongings. People lost things all weekend and people found things all weekend. I dropped a shirt, somebody hung it on the front of their vehicle so I could find it. My neighbor lost a beautiful bracelet that her grandma had given her, and again, she posted in the Facebook group, somebody found it. She was reconnected with that piece. Nobody's locking their doors on their vehicles during the day. There's a phone charging station that was just like, phone's out. You'd walk away for 2 hours while your phone charges. And when you come back, of course, it's still there. And then right down to the porta potties, right? That consideration for how your behaviors are going to impact somebody else being at the forefront makes it such a safe and connective space. And it's something I wish we could cultivate more of within our world. I think that's a big piece of the calls for matriarchy that I'm seeing everywhere. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about what matriarchy is. Matriarchy is not patriarchy with women at the top. Matriarchy is circular, right? Matriarchy is non-hierarchical and it centers children and the earth. And to me, another kind of real defining trait of matriarchy is that consideration of others is first and foremost. It doesn't mean being selfless, right? Not taking care of and tending to ourselves. In fact, taking care of and tending to ourselves is an integral part of considering others, because we can't show up for them and support the same if we are depleted. And so it's important that we do that. It's not saying me only. There is a bit of me first, but also not in the exploitative, extractive way, in the so I can care way. Versus, obviously, patriarchy, which is individualistic, exploitative, extractive, stepping on other people's rights and ability to thrive in order to get ahead, right? There's no consideration for the impact of our actions within the patriarchy, unless that impact is directly improving our status or standing. Okay, that was a side tangent rant. This is what happens when we have solo episodes without scripts. But I was recording actually next week's episode with a dear friend of mine, Meg of Wise Moves with Meg. She's such a wise soul, and I know you're going to get so much out of our conversation when you listen in next week. But towards the end, I was sharing about where I'm at. I'd like to share some words with you from a Wheel of the Year ceremony participant. Kelly writes, "When I was first invited to a Wheel of the Year ceremony, I thought it was another event to make time for in my calendar, another thing I had to do. After participating in a ceremony, I realized I had not been invited to an event. I had been invited into a way of being. Eileen creates a space that momentarily suspends the relentless demands of our culture to invite in the subtle forces that bring healing, rejuvenation, and joy. I no longer feel that I have to make time for these invitations because they allow me to create it. And this is exactly what these ceremonies are. 8 times a year at each turn of the wheel, I gather women together to mark the shifting seasons. Not on the calendar, but in our bodies, in our energy, in our lives. These circles are a place to exhale, to remember that you are also nature and that your body already knows what this season is asking of you. They are a place to be witnessed and to reconnect with yourself, with the earth, and with other women who are walking the path. If you've been feeling the pull towards something more intentional, a different way of moving through the year, I'd love to have you join us. You can find all the details and upcoming ceremony dates at myluminouslife.ca/Wheel wheel-of-the-year-ceremonies. I hope to see you there. Link will be below in the show notes as always. Back to the episode. So if you've been listening and along with me for a while, you'll know that I am mid-process of selling my home. And we had listed the house on the market for the first little while. We pulled it down for summer because my house is so cute. Somebody is coming along. Somebody is getting ready to buy this home, but it's a little bit niche. It's a smaller home. It's an older home. There's no closet in the bedroom because it's 100 and some years old, right? 114 years old. And they didn't put closets in bedrooms back then so much. And so there's just things that the right buyer needs to come along for it. But what's happened is that, the lead up to listing the house, I was putting a lot of time into getting things tidied up, getting things painted, getting things fixed, right? Doing all the work that we wish we'd done 2 years ago, 5 years ago when I bought the house. But we're doing it now. And everything kind of got put on pause. My business efforts got kind of put on pause. A lot of the things I do on the daily to kind of keep things running and growing behind the scenes were just held. And in my brain, I had said, okay, that's okay because we're going to list, somebody's going to love it and just buy it. And then we're going to be off to the island. I'll have this chunk of income that comes in from this different source that will hold me over until I can get back into the building of the business and having it support me. And we had lots of excitement right off the bat, lots of showings, which let me tell you, if you have never sold a house before, having multiple viewings a week where you have to vacate your home for 45 minutes to an hour is so disruptive. And we had lots of interest, but we had no firm offers. And so we made the decision when we listed that if it hadn't sold by the time Stampede rolled around, which if you're not from Calgary, you can go look that one up. It's the greatest outdoor show on earth. And I'm going to say that a little tongue in cheek, but that's the tagline. And the whole city grinds to a halt. It's a 10-day party where everybody dresses up as cowboys and drinks too much. So the market grinds to a halt. Things are slow over the summer. We knew we were going to pull it down. And we're planning to relist again towards the end of August. But what this has done is it's left me, I know my partner's feeling it too, but I'm going to speak to my own experience right now, in this messy middle. And we're not showing the house right now, so technically it's not any extra work. And I wasn't giving myself the grace of just how difficult it is to sit in this space of limbo. I put in all that effort to get it ready with the idea that, okay, and then it'll sell. I'll be able to quit my backup job, which is a serving job, love it, and was really looking forward to having some of the summer off to enjoy here with friends before we made the move. And, all this extra effort will have been worth it. And then we're going to be on to this new adventure. I'm ready to make the move now. And when that didn't happen, I was left in this place of, okay, well, we can't make any firm plans for travel, for even, holding my next Wheel of the Year ceremony. I don't know if I'll be here at the end of September. Do I say I'm going to hold it in person, or do I just say, no, it's online? I've stopped holding my new moon rest circles at the yoga studio where I do that out of because I thought I was going to be gone. I didn't plan the dates. So we're in this real limbo, and I was speaking to Meg at the end of our episode, sharing a little bit about this, and realized that the metaphor for this place and how difficult it is and the grace that I'm finding for myself now that this light bulb went off is a birth metaphor, as they so often are. For any of my birth workers out there, you'll know how applicable so many of those birth wisdoms and metaphors come into play over and over in our lives. I haven't given birth, but I have walked with women who are birthing their babies into the world, hundreds of them. So I know a thing or two about the process. And one thing that I saw many times as a midwife is the decision to get pain relief in the form of an epidural being like a switch on a woman's ability to cope. So I'll paint the picture for you. Or laboring. Maybe we're at home, maybe we're at hospital, it doesn't really matter, but this woman has made the choice ahead of time that she wants to deliver without pain relief if possible, right? She doesn't plan on getting an epidural, and she's coping beautifully, and the contractions are getting intense, and she's got all of her tools, she's riding those waves, she's doing an exquisite job of being in her body and allowing this process to unfold. And then at some point, we hit this place where maybe we've been laboring for a really long time and we're not seeing progress. Maybe baby is in a funky position and she is struggling to relax enough, or maybe she physically would not be able to, even if it wasn't a mind over matter thing, to relax enough or to just have the energy to keep going long enough to relax enough to let this kiddo turn. Whatever it might be, there comes a point sometimes, obviously not always, many women give birth without an epidural, but there comes a point sometimes in a labor where an epidural had not been planned, but it is chosen. It might even be recommended. I've recommended them before, for sure. And there's something interesting that happens. The contraction before the decision is made, yes, they might be tired. Yep, their ability to cope might be dwindling, but they're still coping with every contraction. And then that decision gets made in between contractions. And the next contraction that woman has, almost invariably, she is not coping anymore. Like zero coping. Like, I need that epidural yesterday, not coping. And it's like that decision flips a switch in her brain that's like, okay, relief is coming. This shift is coming. And now I need it yesterday. And so to bring this metaphor into my current situation, which of course I am not likening to childbirth. Oh my goodness. However, what sprang into my mind as I was chatting with Meg was like, oh, the decision to sell the house, the decision to go through all the discomfort leading up to and listing it, and all the discomfort of having strangers coming into my home multiple times a week and me needing to leave at random hours of the day for that to happen. That was like it's worth it for the end results. And the decision to have the relief of having sold, it's like I decided I wanted to sell the house and make the move, and I put in the effort, and then that outcome didn't happen on the timeline in which I had desired it. And so it's like I didn't get the epidural. I didn't get the relief that I had decided I wanted on the timeline that I desired it. And so now there's this limbo space where I'm maybe not coping all of that well. I am getting by. I am living my days. I am going to my night job. I am sitting at my computer and connecting with clients and creating content and writing newsletters and speaking to you here on this podcast. I'm doing the things. And it feels like it's harder than it usually is. And I've been beating myself up for that. I've been asking myself why I can't just buckle down and work. Why this feels so hard, even when I've had plenty of rest or plenty of downtime. I'm calling myself not such nice things when I put in 2 hours of work and then feel like I can't get anything done for the rest of the day. And having this awareness, this realization of just how difficult it is to be in the unknown of the middle. To not even be able to say, well, we're going to go on a trip, or I'm going to go visit a friend, but I don't know what airport I'd be leaving from. To not know if in 6 weeks' time I'm hosting ceremony in my home, or if it's only going to be available online because I don't know if I'll be here. That unknown is a difficult place to be. I would tell any client, I'm definitely telling you, that our brains will choose the known hell over the unknown heaven every time. And that to be stranded in a place of unknown for a prolonged period of time is a huge stress on your nervous system, on your body. That impacts all the areas of your life, right? My creativity feels like it's gone the way of the ghosts. I don't know how to access it the way I used to. And all of this is normal. It's normal. I need to keep telling myself that. I'm recording this, sharing this with you because I need to keep hearing that this space of uncertainty, and whether it be a space of uncertainty in your life, maybe you're waiting to hear about a job. Maybe you're waiting to hear if your kid got into the school they want. There's all sorts of times in our lives where we're suspended in this place of having to be uncertain, even though actually certainty is a myth, but really not being able to make a plan because you don't know what's going to happen next week or the week after or the month after. You don't have a way of predicting it the way you usually have a way of predicting it with your very powerful predictive machine that is your brain. It's uncomfortable, and it is going to impact all of the parts of your life. Even if you try to tell yourself it's not a big deal, your body, your brain, your nervous system, they think it's a big deal. So I am finding some grace for myself as I navigate this space. I am allowing myself to have those days where nothing gets done. I'm working really hard on allowing myself to do that without berating myself for it. I'm showing up when I can. I'm showing up to the commitments that I already have in place. My client work is life-giving. I love supporting women as they reconnect with their own bodies, their rhythms, the rhythms of the earth, their power, their sovereignty. Oh my gosh. The one-on-one work that I'm doing right now especially is filling me up. And there's hard here, and that's okay. And so I'm trusting the process. I am trusting that this is happening for me. And that's not just spiritually bypass that this is fucking shitty. It is. It's not great. It has put me into a bit of a holding pattern, which is something I tend towards anyways. And so it feels like it's exacerbating this pattern of not connecting with friends or not going out or not making plans because of this I don't know unknown. And again, permission for it to be that way. Permission for it to be messy. Permission for it to be shitty. And permission to trust that it is indeed happening for me, not to me. This is one of those fine lines that we walk in the world of manifestation, things like the law of attraction. I have all sorts of qualms about the way that kind of material is often delivered. It's very white settler, colonialist, extractive, capitalist kind of centered often. And there's truth in it. And so how we choose to perceive the situations we are in gives us the ability to experience them differently and keeps us in choice should we desire it. And so that's what came to my mind this morning. I can't even remember specifically. Oh, I was laying on the grass in my backyard. It wasn't this morning, it was this afternoon. I was feeling anxious and antsy, and I've been banging my head against building a landing page for an offer that I have. and was just feeling screened out and didn't know what to do with myself. And I took myself outside and I was kind of pacing the yard and I was like, oh my gosh, let's just lay down on the grass. And so I lay down beside my lavender bush and I watched the bees and the dragonflies and listened to the birds and all the other critters that are in my yard. I have a freaking menagerie going on back there. We've got gophers, we've got voles, we've got all sorts of birds, we've got bunnies, we've got the works. And I lay there thinking initially about like, ugh, this feels shitty. I don't like feeling this way. And then I was like, oh, I get to build a landing page for this incredible business that I get to do as my job. I get to take a break in the middle of the afternoon, even if it's a short one, and come out here and lay in the grass of my beautiful backyard and connect with nature. I get to walk this path. I get to sell my home, which is something that so many people don't ever get to do because they haven't been able to buy a home. And there's so much gratitude for me and the privilege of being able to say I'm a home owner for a little while longer. And just that shift of like, oh, I have to I get to, changed my entire energy. And I was able to get up after a few minutes and come back inside and get some more work done and find a little bit of creativity and energy. And what a gift to myself. And it wasn't bypassing. I acknowledged the hard, but I get to choose whether I'm going to stay in that spot of stuckness and hard, or if I'm going to carry on. And so the next few weeks and months as we approach relisting here in a couple of weeks and hopefully sell the house is going to bring a lot more unknown and messy middle. And I'm going to pin this episode to remind me to come back and give myself grace. And I hope that you will too. If you are in the midst of a messy middle, an unknown suspension in the middle of having made a decision and not yet getting the relief from that coming to fruition, if you've asked for the epidural in your life and the anesthetist is busy in another room, I see you, sister. I see you. And you will eventually find the relief on the other side. And what lessons are here for you in the middle? And how can you be so gentle with yourself? How can you give yourself so much grace and compassion if your capacity during this time feels reduced? Because it likely is, and that's perfectly normal. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. As always, if you liked this episode, if there's anything that stuck out to you, if you want to just come say, hey, that resonated, I love hearing from you. I love knowing what's hitting, what's not, things that you might want me to go into further. Please come find me. Either you can leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment on Spotify. Obviously, like, subscribe, rate, review, all of those things, share with a friend, and come find me over on Instagram at I am Eileen March and let me know how this resonated. Or maybe you pop over to Substack and find me at the Wise Wild Woman Hearth. Send me a note over there. I'd really love to shift away from the meta platforms as much as I possibly can. And so if you're on Substack, come find me over there. Send me a note, say hi. And I will be back here same time next week with that episode that I promised you with my dear friend Meg Aris of Wise Moves with Meg. Until then, all my love, many blessings. Bye for now.